Introduction to Computers. So this is a slide by Tushar B. Kute. So I have just taken this from slideshare.com. First, what is a computer and how is a computer defined? So a computer is actually an electronic device that is operating under the control of instructions stored in its own memory, or sometimes we call these programs. And a computer has the following uh, functions. So main functions. First is a computer is capable of accepting data. So data are raw facts, figures, and symbols. And then the data are now processed into information. So data that is organized, meaningful, and useful. So once it becomes meaningful, then we can call it information. And a computer also produces, so it produces results. That means it can produce output and stores results. So we can store data or information using the computer. So again, what is a computer or what is the information processing cycle? So first we have the input that will accept data. Then the data is now processed to produce output and also we can store. And now we have also communication so we can share output or share data with others. What are the components of a computer? So first we have the input device. What is an input device? These are hardware used to enter data and instructions. So examples of these are, here we have the webcam. So we have here also, no, this is keyboard. So that's an input device. The camera is an input device. The scanner is an example of an input device. A microphone is also an input device. So these are examples of input devices. Output devices. So these are hardware that conveys information to one or more people. So these are devices that produces output. So we have the printer, we have the monitor, and what else? The speaker is an example of an output or examples of output devices. The system unit. So what is a system unit? It's a case containing electronic components used to process data. So this part or this one is called the system unit. So inside this, we have the motherboard, we have the hard disk, or we have other peripherals inside the system unit. Of course, including the motherboard, the processor, and others. The components of a computer. What are the two main components of or components on the motherboard? So as I've said, the system unit contains the motherboard. So one major component or main component of a motherboard is of course the CPU, also called the processor. So a processor is an electronic component that interprets and carries out the basic instructions that operate the computer. So maybe you have heard of Intel Core i3, Core i7. So these are actually processors. Memory consists of electronic components that store instructions waiting to be executed and data needed by by those instructions. So memory. So maybe you've heard also of RAM or you've heard of 256 MB, 32 MB. So these are more or less relating to memory. Storage. What is storage? Storage holds data, instructions, and information for future use. Storage media, physical material on which data, instructions, and information are stored. So we can store in storage media. Storage device records and retrieves item to and from a storage medium. What is a storage media? So an example, so the portable thin memory cards using digital cameras and handheld computers. This is an example of a storage media. Floppy disks. So floppy disks are thin, circular, flexible disks enclosed in rigid plastic shell. So this is an example of floppy disk. I don't know if this is still being used today, maybe for legacy systems. And another example of the storage media is the USB plus drive or the plus drive. Provides much greater storage capacity than a floppy disk or a zip disk. A zip disk is somewhat similar in appearance with that of a floppy disk, but make use of a different device, and it can save greater storage. It can have greater storage as compared with floppy disk. So small and lightweight enough to be transported on a keychain or in a pocket. So I know you're familiar with a USB flash drive, or sometimes also called a thumb drive. A hard disk. So inside also the system unit, we can find a hard disk, which is also a storage device. So it provides greater storage capacity than a floppy disk, zip disk, or a USB flash drive. Most are housed inside of the system unit. We also have uh, lately we have what we call SDD, or uh, SSD rather, solid state disk or devices, solid state devices. So more or less a solid state storage similar to a flash drive but with higher capacity. Compact disk. So I know you're familiar with compact disk. So flat, round, portable. So this can be also be used for storage. What is a communication device? Hardware component that enables a computer to send and receive data, instructions, and information. So occurs over cables, telephone lines, cellular radio networks, rather, satellites, and other transmission media. So this is referring to networks. Uh, so Wi-Fi, for example. Advantages of using computers. Of course, one is speed. It can process data at a high speed. Reliability, because it follows a program. And of course, if the program is uh, if the program is a correct program, then we can be sure, or let's be sure with the output. That's reliability. And consistency. So unlike human being as a processor, of course, a human being is more error prone than a computer. Storage. So just like what we have seen a while ago, we can store terabytes of data, or maybe even higher than terabytes of data. Communications again, so we can uh, send data or information to other computers through internet or networks. So these are the advantages. But also, it can have some disadvantages. So, like for example, violation of privacy, impact on labor force. So, usually the work of several persons can be done easily by just a single computer. So, health risk, of course, it has an impact on your eyes and maybe on your hands or your posture also. Impact on the environment. Uh, of course, the obsolete computers are having some impact on the environment and others. Categories of computers. What are the categories of computers? First, we have the personal computers, or what we call desktop. And I think you're familiar with this. Then we have mobile computers and mobile devices, so cell phones. We also have the mid-range servers, but these are very rarely used today. Mainframes, supercomputers, and we have embedded computers. We'll be discussing more of this as we go on the next slides. So personal computers. What are the two most popular series of personal computers? These are the PC or the compatibles. Use these are computers that more or less use the Windows operating system. And we also have the Apple Macintosh. Uses the Macintosh operating system. A desktop computer is designed so all of the components fit entirely on or under a desk or table. So the image here is showing an example of a desktop computer. Notebook computer or laptops. These are portable, small enough to fit on your lap, also called laptop computer, and generally more expensive than a desktop computer. But now we have a lot of laptop computers that are already uh, cheaper or maybe as expensive as desktop computer. Then we also have what we call the tablet PC. So resembles a letter-sized slate, allows you to write on the screen using a digital pen. So in most tablets, we can write on the screen, especially useful for taking notes. But now they're as powerful as, of course, laptop computers. For some, we can even attach keyboards so that it become similar to a laptop computer. Then we have mobile devices. So these are small enough to carry in the pocket. Internet-enabled telephone is a smartphone. A smartphone is an example of a mobile device. So these are actually computers. A cell phone is actually an example of a computer, smartphone. What is a handheld computer? Small enough to fit in one hand and used by mobile employees such as meter readers and delivery people. So what is a personal digital assistant? So PDA. This became popular several years ago, but because of the cell phone, most of these were already replaced by cell phones. So it can provide personal organizer functions like calendar, appointment book, address book, calculator, and notepad. So smartphones and smartwatches. A smartphone is an internet-enabled telephone that usually provide PDA capabilities. So I'm sure you're familiar with that. And a smartwatch is also an internet-enabled watch that automatically adjusts to time zone changes and stores personal information. Servers. What type of servers are there? So we have the mid-range server. So it's a powerful, large computer that supports up to a few thousand computers. Mainframe is a very powerful, expensive computer that supports thousands of computers. And supercomputer, the fastest, most powerful, but of course the most expensive computer used for applications requiring complex mathematical calculations. So these are quite bigger in size as compared with that of a desktop computer. So as you can see here in this image, is even taller than this person here. Here are some maybe devices by, being used by the supercomputer. Embedded computers. What is an embedded computer? An embedded computer is a special purpose computer that functions as a component in a larger product. So here, maybe the automatic, what do you call this one? This part of the car, which automatically, the airbag rather, so it automatically opens. For example, uh, it's being activated by a computer, but it's just an embedded computer. And maybe you have seen some washing mach- washing machines that are embedded with computers. And maybe you have heard of the IoT, Internet. What's IoT again? But IoT are devices that can, or devices that we usually use, let's say, for example, a washing machine, air conditioner, that are internet enabled. So this is made possible by what we call embedded computers or embedded systems. A microcomputer that fits on the desk. I think we have already have a similar slide. So it runs on power from an electrical wall outlet. The CPU can be housed in either a vertical or a horizontal case, has separate components, keyboard, mouse, etc. and each plug. I think we already have a similar slide. Laptop, we also already have this one. So for the more compact computer that can run on an electrical wall, outlet, or a battery unit, all components are in one compact unit. So as compared with the desktop, usually more expensive than a comparable desktop, sometimes called a notebook. So mainframe, so as I've said, these are large, expensive computers capable of simultaneously processing data for hundreds or thousands of users. Used to store, manage, and process large amounts of data that needs to be reliable, secure, and centralized. So usually housed in a closet-sized cabinet. Mini computers, mostly built between 1963 and 1987, smaller and less powerful than a mainframe, typically about the size and shape of a wardrobe, mounted in a single tall rack, were often used in applications such as industrial control, permanently assigned to one application. And these days, these computers have been largely replaced by PCs.